Hi, everybody. Welcome to Coffee Chat. I'm Andy Bozarth, Director of Community Outreach and Advocacy at AARP Kansas, and we're happy you joined us today. We're also joined by Wendy Moreland and Maxine and Richard Goucher from Pleasanton, Kansas. Hey, you guys, how are you doing?
Hi, Andy.
Great.
Doing great.
Good morning. I'm so glad you took time out of your busy day to join us today. It's always exciting to see Maxine and Richard, and I'm really glad I've gotten to get to know Wendy recently. And we're here today to talk about a grant that the Pleasanton Library received from AARP Kansas. Can you tell me a little bit about how you heard about AARP's work in the community and that we had grants available to help communities grow and build their livability factors?
You know, I'm pretty sure that I heard about it from Maxine and Richard, but I have been working with AARP Tax Aid for years here in the library. We have people come in and they sign up, they put their name on a list in order to get those tax aid appointments way before they're ever even we're allowed to put them online. So it's a wonderful feature and the people here love it.
Oh, yes. AARP Tax Aid is all across the states. And in Kansas, I know we try very hard to get to libraries and churches and other civic organizations. It's part of our community outreach work in communities to help people be able to file their taxes and to give them the help that they need to get back their money that they deserve in their refunds. And it's always great. We've got to do a true disclosure here. Maxine and Richard are volunteers for AARP Kansas, and great volunteers. They've been active in lots of our activities. They help with utilities and with advocacy issues, and they go up to the State House and talk about all of the AARP priorities with our elected officials. So we are very grateful to all of our AARP volunteers in the state. And we love that they help spread the word about what AARP does in communities. And one of the things that we do is we work very hard to make communities more livable for people of all ages as they age. And we talked about the fact that this is a grant from AARP Kansas. And when you applied for this grant, did you have a grant writer on staff?
I did not. It's a very small library. I have one full-time employee and two part-time employees. And I do have some background in communications, so I thought I would give it a shot. And I initially printed out the form, the application form, and penciled in my answers so that I could tweak them before I ever went online, and wasted a lot of time online trying to think. So I did it that way and turned it in. I think it was maybe 2 hours before the deadline. A little bit down to the wire there.
You know, sometimes those are the best ways to do things. But it sounds like you did a lot of pre-work prior to submitting the application.
Yes, I had to work with a local handyman that we had been using here at the library for small jobs, but he also does bigger jobs. And I contacted him and had him visit here and look at the area where we were going to try and build the room inside of this structure. And he worked up a grant, proposal. Thank you, Richard. A proposal for us about how much it might cost so that then I could put that amount in for our expected budget.
Can you tell me a little bit about what you're actually going to do with the grant? You kind of alluded to some building within the library. So can you tell me more about what the project actually is?
I can. We have a 4,800 square foot facility, and it's mainly one big room divided by bookshelves. So we had to figure out an area. And I think Maxine and Richard probably even came in and helped me figure out where to put that. And I know one of my employees did as well. And we found an area that had several bookshelves in it, but we figured that since they were not nailed to the floor, we could readjust the spacing of those and clear one corner which is right up front, easy access for anyone in a wheelchair. And so it's got 2 walls already. We'll be adding a little bit length to one wall, and then 2 walls, one with a door, so that will make it more private. And it will have a drop ceiling, carpeting, and it will have a rack for information that people can pick up. It will have healthcare information and job search information and things like that for them to take with them. And there will be a computer with a privacy screen on it, and we'll have a wireless printer in there so they don't have to go out of the room to get anything that's private. And it will be soundproofed as best as possible, so it's completely private. And we'll have a small skylight window so people can see that someone's in there and not interrupt.
So how are you envisioning this room? It sounds like it's going to be a great private room separated from the entire library. And how are you envisioning it being used?
Mostly for teledoc appointments and things like that you would want to have be private. In the past, we've actually had people coming in the library to do things like that right out in the open where other people are sitting nearby. And it's awkward for them, I'm sure, and for the people who are sitting near them that don't really need to hear their health information. And also with job searches and job interviews and things like that, I think that will be important as well for people to have that privacy.
I think it's a really wonderful project, and I'm so excited that AARP is able to be part of it. Maxine and Richard, how do you see this room being used for people you know?
Well, it's back to the senior thing and
medical.
The medical aspect of it,
Yes.
because our closest hospital is 60 miles away. So it's not real convenient from a rural area to go to some specialist, and it gives them a chance to be able to communicate with the doctors. And we have nothing like this in the county at all.
Most seniors don't even have computers.
And a lot of seniors have no computers.
Right.
And I mean,
That's why they come here.
they have no place to go. And so whenever Wendy was discussing this, I got real excited,
She
as
was.
you know.
She was very excited.
And
She got me excited.
I just feel like it's something that our community needs. And other people from the county can come to Pleasanton and
Yes.
utilize it too. So that makes it very nice that she'll be able to offer this to the community. And it's not just for young people, old people, it's also for young people too, to utilize.
That's right.
Yeah,
Families could come in and use it.
Oh, I think it's
Big enough.
great. Yeah. And, it's a very innovative project, and we're so happy that we were able to be part of it. You talked a little bit about the fact that Pleasanton is 60 miles from a hospital. Can you tell me a little bit more about your community?
Yes, I can tell you that we are near the eastern border. The whole county is in eastern Kansas, and the eastern edge of our county borders Missouri. So we're very close to Missouri, and we do even have some patrons here that come over from Missouri to use our library. Now, I don't know if that will be the case with this room, but they certainly are close enough. Some of them are only a few miles away. But the county itself has just over 9,000 people in it, and Pleasanton is the most populous part of the county, the city in the county.
Mm-hmm. That's great. We're getting some questions.
There's about 1,100 people here in town.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We're getting some questions from the audience members. Let me take a couple questions. First off, we have comments of people. Hey, some people from Missouri are watching this. And
Good.
Come on over.
let's see. We have a comment about this is a great addition for a small facility. And then another comment about hope this concept expands to other rural areas. I think it would be a great pilot program to show how this can work. And then a question of, do you plan to have opportunity to set appointments for those who plan to use this room for doctor appointments?
We certainly will, because we wouldn't want people to be here just popping in and thinking that they can have their appointment with their doctor when there's already someone in there. So we do want to schedule appointments, yes.
That's great. For those of you just joining us, I'm Andy Bozarth, Director of Community Outreach and Advocacy at AARP Kansas, and I'm joined by Wendy Moreland and Richard and Maxine Goucher from Pleasanton, Kansas. And we're discussing some activities happening in Pleasanton to make it more livable. And specifically, we're talking about grant that AARP Kansas made to the Pleasanton Library to expand its capabilities in broadband use. They are going to be building a private room so that people can take doctor's appointments and do job applications in this private room at the library if they don't have access to internet at home. I know we talked a little bit earlier, Wendy, about the fact that AARP uses volunteers in every aspect of our work. And do you see the library being able to utilize volunteers in the work around scheduling this room or working at the library?
I already have, because of those bookshelves that were already in that area that we needed to clear. I knew that my employees weren't up to lifting and moving those, so we at least emptied the books off of them first. And then we grabbed someone that was just walking through, a young man with muscles, and asked him to help. And it turned out that he was the nephew of one of our current board members. I'd only met him once. I didn't recognize him right away. And then we snagged a regular that comes in who is a former board member and had him help the contractor that was putting in our new furnaces to move one of the bigger shelves as well. And then I've also had Maxine and Richard in here helping, bringing the tools that we don't have to help destruct what was already in that space to make it empty so that we could then start building the new walls.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I know that AARP's volunteers are the lifeblood of the organization for sure. And I know that any organization that utilizes volunteers feels the same way. We really appreciate you guys. Once you get the room built and you want to have people start coming in and using it, how are you going to communicate that it's open and let people know that it's available for them?
I have many ways to do that, and for 10 years, I've been here 13, but for 10 years I did a weekly newspaper article for our local newspaper, and I will resume that, and will advertise it that way. Because it's a column, there won't be a charge for that. Plus we have our own Facebook page and we have our own website, so I'll be putting information on there. And then I have a background in graphic design capabilities, so I'll be producing flyers to put up around the community, not just in Pleasanton, but also in the other surrounding communities. And I can send those flyers to other libraries here in the area through our courier service and have them put them up in their libraries as well.
Wow, it sounds like you have a great communications plan already in the works.
Yes, ma'am.
That's word of mouth.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Wendy does an excellent job of coordinating things for our library here around that connect us with the other parts of the county, not just Pleasanton. So we're pretty well known, and she's very well known.
Well, thank you, Richard.
That's great.
I'm also on the statewide board of Friends of Kansas Libraries, and we've got a Kansas Library Association annual conference coming up that I'll be at, representing Focal, which is the mailing address is out of Basor, actually. So I'll be getting the word out in that way too, to other libraries.
Oh, I think that's great.
About the project.
Yeah.
They may want to do it as well.
That's what I was just thinking. Rural libraries especially, I think this is a great project. We were talking and you said that there's a newspaper in your county, in Lynn County and in Pleasanton specifically. Can you tell me more about what's available in Pleasanton that makes it a good place to live? And Maxine and Richard, maybe you want to. I did find out that Wendy lives out in the country, and Maxine and Richard live just on the edge of town. So I found that out before we were talking today. But please tell me what makes Pleasanton a great place to live.
Go ahead.
Well, it's very historical area. A lot of civil wars. That's what General Pleasanton gave us his name for the town after all the battle. And they have many historic sites down here. They have a battlefield area. They have many museums. And our library here is just full of history of Lynn County and this whole area. Jesse James and the whole bunch were around here at one time. And they have a very good record. I read a lot of Westerns, and they cover things very good for the knowledge that Pleasanton is part of it.
That's great. And I do know that there is a picture of General Pleasanton right behind Maxine's head.
Yes, there is.
Watching over you.
I'm also on the foundation board of Mine Creek Historic Battlefield Site, so I stay in touch in that regard as well and get involved in their activities. They have several each year, a Heritage Day, and they have a Park Day where they get volunteers to go out and clean up the trails and things like that. And it's almost like having your very own nature center out there because they have several miles of trails. It's really phenomenal.
And what is that exactly? The
State Historic Site, Mine Creek Battlefield. That's
yes. Okay.
Well, it's the actual area where the battle took place, and it was not a stationary battle. It was a moving battle. So they were, the Union soldiers were chasing the Confederates back across the creek down south.
Oh, wow. Okay. That sounds really interesting. I'm going to have to come see it.
Oh, please do.
It's a small communities that make up Lynn County, but each one is kind of unique in their own.
Yes.
I mean, we had a building which is gone now that was an opera house. Houdini had been there.
Yes.
Susan B. Anthony had been there. So, there's a lot of history, and it helps whenever you're a small community to have some attractions. And we were just discussing, we have a great big convenience store with a well-known name that has helped Pleasanton immensely. We have a brand new, well, it's not completely, but a clinic in our area that God had blessed us with so many things through a hospital closing that was only 25 miles. So these things don't seem important to a lot of people, but to a rural community, in order to have that laid back country feel living is very important. And a library that supplies access to computers that people don't have at home. I mean, that's how I first, when we got into volunteering for AARP, this is where I came to stay in contact with you guys.
That's great.
It's important for it to be here. And we have children that have no connection to the system. They come and sit on the benches out front whenever the weather permits. So they have access to Wi-Fi.
Oh, that's great. I think I just got a visual of kids sitting outside on a bench, hanging out with everybody and being on Wi-Fi. So.
Well, this will also help maybe get some of them inside helping teach us seniors how to use those computers a little better, because
that would be great.
Some of them they're very sharp on this computer stuff, and there's so many of us that didn't have computers. We haven't had in our home up for the last year and a half, and there's many people there that make a lot of teledoctor appointments, and so this is going to be fantastic for them.
It really is going to be fantastic. And speaking of it being fantastic, do you have a timeline of when you think it will be completed?
Yes, the young man that's going to be working on the walls and floors and ceiling, etc., he is promising that he will have it done in October. So we will be promoting it heavily as soon as it's finished. And after he's done with the basics, I'll probably be calling on some volunteers to help with the decorating, painting and decorating. Yes, helping maybe select the carpeting and things like that. And then it's just a hobby, but I've been taking a lot of photos since I've moved here to the country. I came here from Springfield, Missouri, and I lived there 30 years. But this area is so picturesque. Even in my own backyard where I have a pond and trees, I've been taking a lot of pictures. And Maxine and other people have been helping me pick out the pictures that will give people a sense of serenity when they use that room, because sometimes those teledoc appointments can be a little bit disturbing, could be. Right. Same thing with job interviewing. So we're going to pick a very soothing color for the walls, and then I'll have some of the pictures blown up to put in there. We've also gotten a donation from the daughter of a former library employee, and that will help pay for the bench that will be in there, and it'll have a padded cushion, and Maxine's going to sew the cover for that for us. And then the pictures will be, she wanted us to plant a tree and have a bench. So we've got the bench, and there will be pictures of trees in the room as well. Just very soothing.
That's nice. I love this project in so many ways. And I love that you've gotten your community involved so that it is a community project at the library. It's more of a community project at the library than it is just a library project. And I think that important. It's an excellent example of what can happen when a community comes together and creates a common goal that they want to accomplish. So I'm very proud of you all. And do you have any final words you'd like to share with the audience before we go?
Well, I think this will be a very unique project, and I hope to see that it fans out and starts touching all the other libraries in the whole. We'd like to see the whole county connected up library, and that'll just make the telecommunications system that we don't have down here much more effective for the people that really need it.
I'd like to ask if there are people in the audience, and even on as you post it later, if they would like to see some before and after pictures along the way.
We would love that. Actually, I'd like you to come back and be on Coffee Chat once it's completed so that we can do kind of a walkthrough and you can catch me up on how great it ends up being.
Good idea.
So please come back
to see some of the library now. Uh-oh, I think we lost her. We're having a little trouble with our connection.
Oh, I'm actually here. Can you hear me now?
You're coming and going.
Okay, well, on that note, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you goodbye and thank you for joining me today. And thank you to the audience for joining. It's always nice to have you here. Come back next Wednesday at 10 o'clock, and we will be discussing Alzheimer's research with the University of Kansas Medical Center. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andy.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.